Hi, I'm Meg.
And I'm David.
Welcome to The Average Vegans, a podcast to help you live an attainable vegan lifestyle. We're not the ripped influencer vegans you hear about in other podcasts. We're just some ordinary people living in the South, eating plants and loving animals. So we're here with Molly Patrick, the co-founder of Clean Food Dirty Girl, which focuses on helping people eat more plants while celebrating human imperfection. I love that. It's a perfect little description there. From what we've read, it seems like a plant-based lifestyle's always been a part of your life, at least, from the beginning. So we'd love to hear a little bit about your early life. Like, what was your childhood like?
Yes. Well, first, thanks for having me. It's super nice to meet you all. Yeah. I'm kind of unique in that I've never had any meat in my entire life. My mom raised me vegetarian, and because she was vegetarian, and she was super, her and my dad were both super hippie. And so she didn't eat meat, and my dad kind of ate meat, but just basically ate whatever she cooked, and there was no meat. So that's what he ate. So I was raised in a vegetarian household, and just once I moved out of my house, I went to college and had my own life. I just was never curious about it. I just didn't feel like there's never been a point in my life where I was interested in putting meat in my mouth. And it's not necessarily coming from a place of it's coming from a very deeply rooted place in me where it just doesn't seem right. And I'm not even talking about the industry, because the industry is so, horrible in many ways, but it's just like an internal, intrinsic thing that doesn't feel right to me. It's like if somebody just didn't, it would be almost like, here, put these wood chips in your mouth. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I've always felt. And so no reason to try it. And then in 2008, I don't remember if it was late 2008, early 2009, some of those years just become blurs, but I stopped eating dairy and eggs as well. And so then was eating vegan, but incorporating quite a bit of vegan, processed food. And then in 2014, I really kind of dropped the vegan processed food and focused really on whole plant food. So, even though I grew up without meat, there's still been tweaks that I've made and evolutions to the way I eat, even kind of within that parameter, I guess.
So what triggered that transition from vegetarian to vegan? Was it just something that clicked, or was something that actually happened?
Well, to tell you the truth, I never ate a ton of dairy because milk always tasted really kind of thick and strange to me. And so I grew up drinking rice milk and oat milk and stuff like that. So, and eggs, once in a while, but it wasn't a big part of my life at all, because I grew up with my mom who grew vegetables and who cooked her own meals. And so I really didn't eat a lot of dairy and eggs, but what finally made me do it, I hadn't even really thought about it because dairy and eggs weren't a huge part of my life, but I started working for a vegan company. And I was just thinking, I don't feel good about working for a vegan company if I myself am not totally vegan. So I'm just going to try it out and see how it goes. And so I tried it, and within a week, I was just thinking to myself, why haven't I done this sooner? This is so easy and it feels so good. And it was just small little tweaks, like cream in my coffee, right? But when I ditched the dairy and the eggs, something happened and I didn't feel like I wanted coffee anymore. So I quit drinking coffee. So that kind of got rid of the cream in my coffee bit. And so it just stuck and it felt really good. So I just went with it.
I think Meg, that actually was with you and your husband. He actually made the dairy in his coffee was actually of his his transition to, he's not plant based, but him making more of a transition that's where his started.
Yeah, because we kind of coffee's our thing in our family. Like between my husband and I, we just that's our thing. So once I got him to try like a non-dairy creamer, he was kind of hooked. And so now his coffee is like his one purely vegan thing that he loves. And so like I kind of that kind of helped move him into different areas. So I totally get the coffee is a big transition for sure.
Yeah, I get that. I have a very extreme personality. Like I'm very all or nothing. And I know this about myself, and it's something that I've definitely had to work on. But at one point I was drinking like 2 pots of coffee a day, and then smoking like, a pack of cigarettes with that coffee because it went so good together. But I never thought I could stop drinking coffee. Like, and why would you? I was like, I would always just like roll my eyes at people who didn't drink coffee. And then and like my wife, she has like 1 cup in the morning, and now she's doing like soy milk in her coffee. But coffee was kind of our thing in the beginning, we really, and when I stopped drinking it, she was really kind of like sad a little bit because it was that connection that we didn't have. But I'm like, I'm still here. I'm still having a conversation with you. It's just tea. But it was like something for her that was, I think, a harder transition than it was for me.
It was a bonding thing. You feel like was taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally a bonding thing. Yep, exactly.
And your wife, interesting enough, she's not plant-based, correct? Or is she?
No, she's not plant-based. She doesn't have a desire to ever go plant-based. She is from like one of the food capitals of the whole world, which is Malaysia, and definitely the food capital of Southeast Asia.
Oh yeah.
So she kind of, I don't know. When I first met her, she ate a lot more meat. And since, we've been together, like we're going on 13 years now. And so because I cook and she doesn't, it's sort of like my mom and dad in a way. It's like she eats what I make. And so therefore she's probably, 90% whole food plant-based. But when she goes out, she orders meat, and she just doesn't want to feel like she has to do it. And it's interesting because if she feels like she doesn't have to do it, then she does more of it.
Right. That is so my husband too. That is so crazy. Yeah, exactly the same thing. He is pretty much eats, almost all vegan because that's what I cook. But he does incorporate his own non-vegan stuff. But it's the same thing. Like if I tell him he has to eat it, he doesn't want to. But if I pretend like it's not a big deal, then he's all for it. That's so interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I've never ever I've never expected him to. I've never, because I always feel like however other people eat is totally their business. And It's not my business to be the food police, to judge other people for what they're eating, for people to wherever they're at, man. Like, I don't want anybody judging me and what it's such a personal thing that I've actually never dated anybody who is plant-based. Like, because and it's funny because I've had friends who do, and I had this one friend who had a string of like kind of shitty relationships, and she was very adamant about dating vegans. But these guys that not because they were vegan, but just happenstance, this string of guys she was dating just turned out to be kind of assholes. And I'm like, the thing is, like, my girlfriend then and my wife now, it's like she didn't eat the same way I did, but dude, she made me laugh hysterically, and we had such a good time together, and it was so easy. Right. And so everybody has to do what's right for them, right? But that has never been a kind of this part of my checkbox, of right. things that I look for in a partner. So I don't really care. Whatever you're eating's cool. Whatever I'm going to eat's cool. Let's just like have a good chat.
So you were vegetarian when the two of you met, and then you made the transition while were you married when you made the transition, or were you still dating when you made that transition?
No, just dating. Yeah, early dating.
So how did she respond to you making that full like leap and transition?
Well, she was cool about it. It didn't really change much because I wasn't eating much dairy and eggs to begin with. But, and she's, because she grew up in Malaysia, like she's used to, like, it's funny because vegetarian people there are held kind of to this. It's almost like people really look up to people who are vegetarian. And it's not like this weird fringy thing there because it's mainly done there for religious reasons. And so it's, and when I first met her family and I told them I was, I didn't eat meat, a lot of people assumed that it was like a religious thing,
Oh.
and I was like, no, I just don't, I would explain to them. But so she grew up with a lot of that. And so it wasn't, I don't know. As long as I wasn't telling her what to eat, she was cool.
Well, I mean, I find even that, even if you're not pressuring someone, you're just kind of have it in their purview. They're more open to at least make those adjustments, and maybe not make the full leap. They're willing to kind of take on the food you're eating, or being more inclined to actually adjust for you anyway.
Totally. Yeah. And there's really, like there's such yummy, I don't know, she's used to a lot of flavor and a lot of spice and a lot of, like she loves Indian food and, every like Chinese food. And I mean, Burmese food, we both just love food. And it's interesting because we've done like a lot of traveling, and we used to live in the Bay Area where there was, a ton of yummy restaurants. And so, but I haven't ever had any problem traveling or really like appreciating good food because I don't eat meat or dairy or eggs. Like that's never been even a thought. I've enjoyed food just as much as she has. We just order different things.
Right.
And yeah, I think you're right. I mean, there's definitely things that she would have never tried on her own, but because it was for dinner, she tried it, and it turned out that she loved it, but she would have never ever like gone to the grocery store and bought kohlrabi, for example, and made it into something that was good. I mean, she wouldn't know. She would think it was like a cat toy or something, or like a ball. She's not good in the kitchen at all. Yeah. I think that it did sort of expand what she was willing to try. For sure.
Oh, that was funny. We want to hear all about Clean Food, Dirty Girl. We want to hear what spawned the company and a little bit more about its focus.
Yes. So Luann, my wife, has a background in technology, and then I have a background in recipe development and restaurants and personal chef work, all geared for for plant-based food. And so we really wanted to combine our skill set somehow. And we weren't sure exactly what that looked like. When we met, we both had jobs, and we knew that someday we wanted to do something together, but we just weren't sure what. So we just kind of put that out there. And in 2013, she was in between jobs, and I got fired from my job. And I got fired, and there wasn't an ounce of, oh shit. It was more like, fuck yeah, I got fired. Like, I'm not looking for another job. Like, I know exactly what we're going to do. So we broke our lease in Oakland, California is where we were living. And it was ridiculously expensive. Like the whole Bay Area, even the East Bay, it was just like painful. And so we're like, okay, if we're going to do our own thing, we cannot live here. Like we're going to move to Arizona where it's super cheap. We're going to rent like a tiny, tiny, tiny place. And we're just going to work on this business idea. And so we didn't really know exactly what it was going to be, except for it was going to be something plant-based, and it was going to have to do with food and helping people basically eat more plants. Cause that's really what I was into. And she could be like the support role because she had the background to, design websites and stuff like that.
Right.
And so that's what we went out to do. And so we packed up our stuff, our cats, we broke our lease, we moved to Arizona, we rented this teeny little house, and we were really, really frugal, and we just got to work. And little by little, it didn't work for a long time. We tried different things. We had to learn as we went because none of us had ever started an online business.
Right.
Like she had been in the e-commerce space, and I had always had jobs where I had to go to. I wasn't familiar with online marketing or building a business online. So we just sort of taught ourselves as we went and tried different things and just kept at it. And there was a lot of hours and a lot of painful lessons and a lot of failing. And we always knew though that it would work. Like we knew that there was no reason it couldn't work for us because we saw that other people did it. And we're like,
Right.
Well, if other people can do it, we can surely figure it out. Like we're not super like geniuses, but we can sort some shit out probably. And so that's it. And now it's been like, we started, so I got fired in December of 2013, and then we moved in. So that was January 2014 when we both have been working on this full time. And now it's grown into this amazing company, and we employ a bunch of awesome people, and we get to help a lot of people eat delicious plants. So it's incredible.
How would you kind of elevate or pitch or describe Clean Food Dirty Girl to someone who hasn't checked it out yet?
Yeah. So basically, we just have a ton of resources to help people eat more plants and less of everything else in a way while celebrating human imperfection. Very, very important because nobody is perfect. So we have resources on our blog and tons of free recipes on our blog. Like I would say for any stage of the plant-based journey, like we have resources for people, whether it's free recipes that are super simple. We have a ton of resources on our blog. I send out a Saturday email every single Saturday for people to give like inspiration and just kind of, that's not so much about plant-based stuff. It's more like being human stuff. We have a really active private Facebook group that is a pretty awesome community. And then we offer plant-based meal plans. So like weekly meal plans, people log into their online classroom, which we created from scratch. It was a really fun project. Wow. And we basically say, okay, here's what the menu is this week. And you can choose how many portions of each meal you want. And then here's the grocery list, go to the grocery store. Here's how to batch cook all the things. And here's how to put all those things together during the week to eat meals. So we really just like hold your hand and guide you through the process. And we have other things too, like other resources that people for free and also that people can buy. So it's just a hodgepodge of plant-based like goodness. And one thing that we really take seriously is like, we don't take ourselves too seriously, but we really take like, yeah, like we're total dorks, but we take seriously like how delicious our recipes are. Because like, if you're going to eat this way, it may as well be delicious and you may as well find like a whole lot of joy in eating. So for us, that's all about flavor and texture and really nailing those things and using lots of spices and lots of different ingredients. And so we put a lot of emphasis on the quality of our recipes.
Yeah, I think that's
meal plans.
That's the important thing.
That's important because it keeps people interested too.
Right, and breaking down those barriers, because some people going plant-based, even when you're starting to, there's that barrier of entry or those little barriers you hit of like, okay, now what do I do, or how can I make the next thing to really push us forward? Or even if like I've been vegan for almost 10 years. And sometimes I even have like, okay, do I really want to have the same thing I've eaten for the last 3 weeks again? And I have to hunt down a book, or I got the book I got for Christmas from Meg to find just to change that up. Because even it gets after 10 years, like, it kind of gets a little stagnant at times. You got to change things up, which something like Clean Food Dirty Girl kind of can really help with that.
Yeah. I mean, you can only eat beans and rice for so many nights a week,
Oh,
I mean, and we've all been there. And even for myself, like I follow our meal plans, and like, even if I had nothing to do with Clean Food Dirty Girl, I would be subscribing to the meal plans, because every week I'm like, oh, like I wouldn't have bought broccoli this week, or I wouldn't have put broccoli together in that way this week, or I wouldn't have been eating as many salads or trying as many awesome dressings, or, I mean, it just, we really do give people a very like wide range of whole plant foods in ways that are really fun and really interesting. And I think that is one thing that trips people up once they start eating this way, is like, okay, this is great, but I'm just really bored. I'm in this rut. I'm eating the same five things all the time. And it's so much more, because the world of plants is fucking huge. Yeah. It's like, how many beans are there out there? Like, just how many different potatoes are there? How many different grains are there? So the possibilities are really endless.
I think there's like 55,000 different variations of edible like fruit alone. I think something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I live in Hawaii, and there's like, I don't know, like 300 different types of mangoes here.
Yeah.
I know, it's pretty damn awesome. What can I say?
Just rub that in. It's all right.
Right.
I know, we always wanted to move here. And the thing that we told each other is like, okay, once we become profitable and it's like safe, because it's hard to move to Hawaii and find jobs. It's just, it's tough to find work here, but we knew we wanted to live here. So we just made a pact that as soon as we became profitable, we would buy a one-way ticket and just move here. And that's like what we ended up doing. But back to I mean, even just avocados, there's 200 different avocados, like on these islands alone. So it's like, I find it really funny when I talk to people who are not plant-based, and sometimes one comment I get is along the lines of, but don't you feel limited in what you eat? You know, you can't have so many things. I'm like, oh my God, like, it's not about like what I can't have. It's about how much my world of food opened up
Right.
when I started eating plants, because it's way more than the average person eats.
Yeah, I think one of our recent episodes we talked about people just going into the store, going to a farmer's market especially because there's such a wider variety there, finding something you've never seen before, never tried before, anything, and just get it. And the farmers markets are great because they can even tell you, oh, this is X, and here's how you can cook it. They'll make it fantastic. It opens you up. And spices, for me, spices is what really opened up for me. I would just literally just grab a concoction and go, this looks bright and colorful. Let's find out what this does.
It's so much fun. And it's true. You know, I don't know about you all, but even when I was just eating vegetarian, I remember my trips to the grocery store, and it was like, I really would buy the same things over and over. Like, and even in the produce section, like lettuce, cucumbers, carrots, you know, probably like an avocado, but I wasn't really that adventurous, even though I wasn't even eating meat, you know, and I was doing a lot of cooking, and maybe I would buy a beet like sometimes, but it's so true. If you go to farmers markets are great because the farmers like love it when you buy their food, and plus you're supporting local farmers, and it's just a wonderful thing. But they are really into their ingredients, and so they can really geek out with you about like ways to cook them, and like they're invested.
Yeah,
so that's a great challenge for people.
And still, the strangest thing I feel like I've had from farmers markets that I've said in the last episode was pumpkin leaves. That was still the weirdest and like really good. Because I told Meg, you have to peel them. You have to like peel the top layer off because it's kind of got like a fuzz on it. And pumpkin leaves are like, they're almost like a slightly, not as bitter and a slightly sweeter like a kale, or a collard green almost.
Wow, that sounds really. I've never tried it, and it's funny because pumpkins do have a lot of greens on them, so it's interesting that like we're not seeing pumpkin leaves at the grocery store.
Yeah, and I got them from a farmer's market.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
very cool.
You actually had touched on the celebrating human imperfection, and I'm kind of curious, like, what you mean by that, and how do you go about celebrating the human imperfection?
Well, I think the first way to celebrate it is just to accept it for first of all, and this whole idea of, I talk to so many people in our community and through email, and it's like there's this idea of, okay, I'm ready to eat plant-based, and so I'm going to nail it. Like, I'm going to eat totally plant-based. I'm just going to do it exactly the right way. And then something happens. Maybe it's a wedding, or they go out to eat, or maybe they don't have time to cook and they don't eat something plant-based. And then all of a sudden it's like they're so defeated, and then they just give up, and they're like, screw it. The kale in my fridge is going to go bad, and I'm just going to go get takeout like I usually would. And so I see that being quite a roadblock for people and quite a challenge for people. And when I talk about human imperfection, yes, diet, it's like nobody is perfect. Let's just do the best we can and have fun with it. But I also like to talk about like the rest of being human, because isn't being human fucking weird? It's weird. It's a trip.
It really is.
It can be really gross. It can be smelly. It can be heartbreaking. Like, it can be squishy. It can be wrinkly.
I'm gonna cry. That's funny.
And it can be funny. Yeah, there's moments that you can have, heartbreak and hilarity and grossness all in the same moment. And I just feel like we're not talking about that enough. Like, it's a weird thing to be human. So let's talk about it and discuss it, because we all are. And, like, my shit stinks. I fart. I drool. Like, I am scared to die. I have all of these things. And so I just decided to, I don't know, just share that stuff, because it makes, it's part of who I am. And once I started sharing that stuff, people would be like, wow, that's really refreshing. Thank you. Because I feel the same way, or I did that too. Or, I cup my hand on my mouth when I take a nap so I can catch my drool when I sleep too. Like, really, that's a true story.
I just let it go.
So whatever, and it's just, there's this idea of, here's how we should be. Here's what I'm going for. And I think having goals is great, but let's along the way just kind of enjoy and find the humor of actually being like in this human body and celebrate it, whatever it looks like, however it is in the moment.
Well, do you feel that social media in some aspect drives that that drives that need for perfection and that embarrassment of imperfection?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think social media does play a part in that, but it certainly, that hasn't been the beginning of it. I mean, there was different media outlets before social
Very
media.
fair.
So before that, it might have been magazines or TV commercials or, so I think that social media has made that more of a beast, I guess, because we're so inundated much more than we were like, in the 90s or whatever. So I think that, yeah, definitely. But I think that with social media also there's also people saying, wait a minute, hold on. Like, let's look at this and let's redefine our goals and what being perfect is. So I think that you have both, but I just think that it's, you kind of have to look for that other stuff more than the perfect vision of what we should be. Yeah. Because that's kind of all over the place and it's boring, boring.
Well,
Perfection is boring. I love that.
I do like that. That's nice. You mentioned earlier your 2 pots of coffee a day and cigarettes with it, and you had other addictions you had to overcome. So what drove you to making that change? Was it going more vegan, or was it something other that was connected to it?
I just got to the point where I just felt totally spiritually totally bankrupt. And I just felt tired. Like I felt tired in my soul, like to the point where I didn't really recognize who I was. I didn't like things that I used to like. I just felt like the kind of, I mean, it's so cliche, but I did feel kind of like a shell of myself. And for me, it was drinking, I've never been into drugs, but for me, it was definitely alcohol. And I had, an issue with it for so long. And I didn't know like how to operate in the world. I didn't know how to have a conversation with somebody or socialize or make friends without drinking, without being drunk. And so, that when I did get sober, I kind of had to, I was like, oh, who am I? Hello, Molly, this is Earth. And let's take a look, But
welcome.
Yes, welcome. Yes, this is how you talk to an adult human without social lubrication. Can you handle it? It's like, no, I can't handle it at all. I'm an awkward like fucker. But, leading up to that, it was like, I don't know. I just felt like I knew that I knew that I could have the life that I wanted if I quit. And I knew I wanted a lot for myself. And I knew I was capable of a lot, but I wasn't capable of that when I was drinking.
Right.
And so I just got to the point where there wasn't like this rock bottom story where I got a DUI or I hurt somebody or I cheated. I mean, it wasn't like, I don't know, dramatic like that. It just was a literal, my soul is dying and I need to quit.
And something just kind of clicked and had that self-reflection that kind of pulls you out of it.
Yeah. And I had tried a few times, but God, addiction is the worst. It's so hard. It's like, it really does. I mean, it's obviously, but it was really hard to make it stick. But I think, and the plant-based thing, I think, I didn't really start eating super, super healthy until after I quit. I did eat vegan, but it was a lot of takeout and a lot of restaurant food and a lot of stuff that, I didn't feel like cooking, or I was too drunk to cook, or the next day my hangover would make me really crave really, like greasy food.
Right.
And so I wasn't really eating all that healthy. And so I didn't start eating super, super and I didn't start appreciating whole plant foods until I quit. And that's when I started really like loving myself and accepting all my weird imperfections and really getting familiar with this human body and kind of looking at it with more of a curiosity and lighthearted spirit than I had ever even imagined was possible when I was doing the other thing.
Right. Oh, that's refreshing. That touches me and like big time. Okay, so if you're trying to give tips to someone who might be venturing into a vegan lifestyle, because we're getting into January when people are going to start trying the vegan life. So like, what tips would you give them? to master that and not, and also encourage that imperfection.
Yeah. Well, oh man, there's so many. Like I could just talk to you for 5 days about this.
I mean, I got plenty of space on my computer. I can keep recording.
Well, what's funny is we just recorded an episode with our tips for people that are going vegan, and it's our longest recording so far.
Yeah.
So I get that there's a lot of tips.
So many. But I also think that can be part of what makes people intimidated, because there is so much information and there is so much. So I would say, here's the thing. Start where you are. Like however you can, just start, because we can listen to all the podcasts and read the books and watch the documentaries and, follow the Instagram accounts and follow the Facebook accounts and talk about it. But until we actually go to the grocery store, buy some ingredients, make some food and put it in our mouth, none of that matters. It's not going to help you if you don't actually do it. And so I kind of relate it to drinking and smoking, right? The only way I could quit smoking was to stop putting those delicious yellow American Spirit cigarettes in my, right fingers and lighting it and smoking it. The only way I could stop drinking, the fantastic alcohol, which I loved, by the way. God, drinking and smoking were the best. I still miss it. I'm still pissed that I can't do it too. But the only reason I could stop that is to literally stop putting it to my mouth and drinking it. So the only way to start eating plant-based is to actually eat plant-based. And it seems really simple. And it seems yeah, obviously, but you just got to do the thing. And I think that stops so many people, and including me. I have things on my to-do list where I'm okay, I've been looking at this for 2 weeks. I just need to do the thing to get it done. It's not going to magically happen for you. So just start somewhere, anywhere. And even make, I'm helping my nephew, really holding his hand through the process of transitioning to plant-based diet. And I told him just start with breakfast, just do breakfast, and just take it one breakfast at a time and start with that and get comfortable with that. And then when you're ready, then let's talk about lunch. So I think, being able to go at your own pace and not feeling like there's this expectation or this, perfection that you're reaching. And I would also say, have fun with the process. Just make it fun and light. And it's all an experiment. We're all going to die in the end. So just have fun with it. And I don't say that as a depressing thing. It's just literally the reality. So just play around with it and have fun and experiment and get curious and try out different recipes and maybe just start with breakfast and see where that takes you. So that's one thing. The next thing is just knowing that you'll get more familiar with the ingredients and the cooking methods and everything the more that you do it. So, right. Some people start, especially our recipes, because we use things like ume plum vinegar and nutritional yeast and, miso and these things that most people don't just have readily available in their fridge or their pantry. And it might feel kind of overwhelming to get all these new ingredients, but you'll get it. The more you do it, the more you'll get familiar and comfortable with these ingredients and the different grocery stores that you might have to go to, or the different areas of the grocery store that you have to find. And it will feel a lot more, it's kind of I don't know, trying on a swimsuit. And at first it might be kind of okay, is this, working? And then, but you get it all on and then you feel okay, I'm in it. You just have to kind of find your groove with it, but don't let all that stuff intimidate you, because you'll get used to it the more you do it. And I would say, know that however you want to eat, you have it in you. This isn't available to only certain people. So anybody can do this. And it's entirely possible to do it however you want to do it. And so don't give up on yourself. If you get frustrated, just be patient with yourself, try again, and kind of keep it light, lighthearted.
Yeah, I mean, I would think, it's the two things of one, no one's getting out of this alive. No one's getting out of this alive anyway, and to err is human. That's the two things I try to remember for myself or anybody else. I'm we're not getting out of this alive. We're all going to end in the same place. No one's going to win the game. It's all going to end up the same way. And everyone makes mistakes. To err is human. Learn from that mistake and move on forward. And to making those adjustments again, either if it's one meal a day or anyone who's making that transition, I always tell them, think what you like, make what you like, and just replace the animal piece in it, and it makes things so much more easier just making those little adjustments as you go.
Yes, totally. Rather than, okay, I'm going to change my whole diet. I'm going to change totally,
Right.
and it is, I have a blog post that actually like I break down like, okay, here's a blueprint for if you want to eat more vegan or if you want to eat more whole food, plant-based. And I just like literally, okay, what would you like write down what you would usually have for breakfast, like bacon, eggs, and toast. Okay. Like, cross out the ones that have animal. And then we're going to just replace something. So it really is. It's that simple. Just take out the animal stuff and put in there something that's not animal based. And the internet is great. Yes, we have fantastic recipes and our meal plans I think are the best, but if you Google, plant-based breakfast ideas, like you'll have a gazillion to choose from.
Instagram is my friend when it comes to that. I'm literally in the store going, vegan dinner ideas. Like, okay, I haven't had that before. What's that? I'm walking in the store getting ingredients because 10 years in, you kind of just get used to the same thing over and over again. Like, I don't want to have shepherd's pie again this week. So you have to find something
totally.
else
And if you got our meal plans, then we would just tell you what to do, and then you could just go do it, and we have you covered.
Which I'm through going like, I'm gonna have to get your meal plans because maybe
I know.
A little
So
bit of a
tempted.
head.
Well, there is a free trial, so you can sign up for the free trial and just test it out and just see how you like it.
I'm gonna have to go do that. Yeah.
Because it's such an easy thing when you just have somebody telling you what to do. It's kind of a relief because we don't really realize how stressful it is to think of meal, like, the dinner time can be really stressful for people. So if you just have somebody telling you like, do this, it can be quite a relief actually.
Making a test. How many times I'm talking through it through Slack going, I'm so tired of trying to figure out dinner every week. It's the most difficult. I think I saw a meme not long ago. If someone told me that for the rest of my life as an adult, I'd have to figure out dinner every night, I wouldn't have done this or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
Like that's the most. I don't mind my job and everything I do, but if I had to figure out what to do for dinner every night, it's just probably the most exhausting thing. Even going to the gym is less exhausting than figure out what I'm gonna do for dinner every single night.
And especially if you're like married or have kids, like that even throws like a whole nother layer on it. Cause it's like, well, what are these fuckers going to eat? Like, I don't know. It's not just me. I have to figure out what these assholes want too. And
oh God, you sound just like me. It's so weird. It's exactly what I say.
And then if your asshole spouse doesn't eat like you eat, then it's like another added layer. But what's funny? When I started developing like recipes and meal plans, I had Luann test everything because I was like, here's the thing. I'm not going to release it until you think it's delicious. Because if you think it's delicious, I know that other people who aren't plant-based, because I think anything is delicious. Like if it's plant-based, I'm just game. I'll just eat it all. And I'm not very discerning. But she's kind of, if she's like, no, this bean meat is mushy. This bean burger is falling apart. It tastes like, oatmeal. I know. It's like, okay, wait. Then so she kind of did the taste testing in the beginning when it was just her and I doing everything, which was really helpful.
Yeah, that sounds really helpful. What kind of struggles, like common struggles, does your community kind of encounter, and how do you advise them to handle those?
Okay, so a big one is when people are switching to a plant-based diet, just the other people around them, whether it's coworkers or family or friends, and just kind of feeling a bit like an outsider and feeling like the people around them either don't support them or are kind of putting them under, the microscope a little bit and just the slack that they get. So that can be one really big one. And what I say is like, who the fuck cares what other people are saying? Who cares? Focus on your stuff, like everybody, if people have questions, then, answer them, but really why are you doing this? If you're doing it for yourself, then just let the other stuff roll off from you, and just let adults be adults. They're going to say what they're going to say. Don't take it personally. But then the other thing is like the flip side of that. I see a lot of people who make this transition and they feel so good and they have so much more energy and they're feeling amazing and they're sleeping well and they want to tell everybody about it and they want to preach it to everybody and they want everybody to get on board. And not everybody is, receptive to that. And with that, it's sort of like the same thing. It's like, just leave people alone. Let the other people choose what they're going to choose. If people in your life want to make this choice and this transition, they'll know who to come to because they know you're doing it. But like it's not your responsibility to change people, to fix people, to convince people to eat like you're eating just because it's so amazing. Like have a party just for yourself and have that be good enough. And then like if other people want to know, they'll come to you and ask. So those are kind of the same thing, but different sides of the coin.
Yeah, it's really just living by example, and yeah, just if you eat it, they will come.
That's
Yeah.
literally how David got me to go vegan. We worked together and he would bring in his lunches and I'm like, okay, that smells really good. Let me just try it. And so he would give me a bite and it definitely led to me just trying out being vegan for 30 days and now it's been 5 years. So
Gotcha.
it's a great way
Yeah.
to look at you.
Yeah. Yeah. It that's awesome. Yeah, it works. And like a lot of, some of the other struggles, let me see. Yeah, the ingredients one, I guess, and not knowing what to make for dinner, not knowing like the breakfast thing. I see a lot of people getting tripped up about breakfast a lot. Having a spouse not eat the same way and not having the kids, like having a house that's like a mixed household. Like I see that a lot of times. But it's almost like all of these struggles, like just do the best you can, focus on you and you'll be good, you know?
It helps you shine. It helps you shine from the inside out too, as well, and drives that positivity.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And people around you, they'll notice. They'll be curious. They'll be like, what are you doing? You know, and they'll be wanting some of whatever it is you're doing. So then it's the perfect time to share.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I know we have you for limited time, and you're very busy, especially with all of your groups and keeping everything in line. I just want to know, where can people get more information about Clean Food Dirty Girl, contact you, and get more information from you?
So they can go to our website, which is cleanfooddirtygirl.com, and everything they need will be there.
And
easy peasy.
And we'll have all that linked in show notes, and I'm sure in the intro we'll say it 10,000 times. Make sure everybody knows it.
Yeah, so all of our social media stuff is there. Free trial meal plan. Sign up for my sweary Saturday love letters.
I'm going to.
Yes, sure. Do that. And our blog and everything is there. And so, yeah, we're on Instagram too. And come check us out. We'd love to have you guys.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate you taking the time talking to us today.
Well, it's been a lot of fun. I feel like we could just talk for a long time. I feel like you would be my friends if, we lived in the same place. I really had a great time chatting. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
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 And that was our amazing, fantastic, stupendous chat with Molly Patrick. Molly, hopefully you're listening to it. You're amazed and you loved it as much as we did. And thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
It was lovely. We appreciate it. And you can all find us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, or anywhere else you get your podcast fix. Make sure to leave us a review and recommend us to your friends, family, coworkers, everybody. Of course, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Average Vegans, or email us at theaveragevegans@gmail.com. There'll be show notes, links, especially to Molly's website, and more found at our website, theaveragevegans.com. We'd love to hear all about your vegan story, your favorite vegan treats, your episode suggestions, and what you thought of Molly. And that's about it this week.
All right. Well, until next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.